So I'm really thankful that we are here together to discuss your new book and also my book. Go ahead, show your book. Let me see. What's the title of it? Yoga Sutras.
Yep.
I love it. This is mine right here. Healing Through Nature's Medicine, a Story of Hope. So I'm going to have you go first. I'm going to have you take the floor, and then you can go exactly the way that you want this to go.
I wanted to actually introduce you first. This is Emanuela Visone. Emanuela is a leading expert in how to naturally restore your body back to optimal health and a master transformational coach. She's also a level 2 Reiki healer.
Yes. Thank you.
Welcome. Can you introduce me?
Sure, absolutely. So this is all new for us, guys. So be patient, but we're going to have fun with it, which is the important thing. I am sitting here with Master Vincent Ferrer. Did I pronounce that correctly? Ferrer? Okay, Ferrer. And he is a yoga and forgive me, is it Qigong or Qigong?
Qigong.
Qigong, okay, Qigong master. Right? And
yes.
You've been doing this for 15 years, right?
Yes, I've been practicing and teaching for about 16 years, yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, so go ahead.
Okay. One of my messages is the importance of the text. The original spiritual texts that were written were handed down to us by our ancestors. And it's what they felt was necessary for us to know, to live in a world that was free from suffering, free from problems. I feel like the spiritual texts are overlooked. There's not as much importance in them. Also, some of them have been discredited. People point the finger, say these are not even factual texts. There's no point to them. There's no purpose to them. After many years of studying the text, I started with my first book as the Yoga Sutras, because I feel like it's a non-biased, essential spiritual text, which covers all of the basis of what spirituality is.
And what do you feel what is spirituality about? I mean, I know I'm just really getting into, especially like more, I started last year with learning more about energy healing. Because I wanted to experience that and take that to the next level for myself, and also for me to help with the people that I work with, my clients. So for you, what is spirituality? What does that mean? What's your meaning on it?
So first off, the question would be, is there universal spirituality? And is the spiritual purpose the same for all beings? According to the Yoga Sutras, it is. According to the Yoga Sutras, the purpose of life is to enjoy life and to liberate your soul from the attachments of the earthly plane. So as soon as your soul becomes completely free of all your earthly attachments, then you've attained the goal of spirituality, which in yoga they call Dharma Mega Samadhi. And they do go into levels. This is level 1, this is level 2, this is level 3. In order to do that, the 8 limbs are recommended, but there's 196 suttas, and the suttas are supposed to be studied repeatedly until you grasp them and then reach to the final level. When you reach the final level, then supposedly you're omniscient and omnipresent, and there's no more need to study. But let me just read 4 of the sutras. Sutra 212, the hindrances are rooted in the accumulated imprints of past lives. It is because of our previous actions and reactions that our current and future situations occur. Sutra 213, as long as the idea of a separate self exists, it will give rise to lifespan, experiences, and the type of birth one takes. I'm just going to read 2 more. I put these sutras aside for today. Sutra 214, pleasure and pain are caused by merit and demerit, which is the result of our previous actions and reactions. And Sutra 215, transformations cause misery, mental impressions cause suffering, and the conflict of the energetic forces of the universe cause discomfort. Therefore, wise and discriminative beings see that all life is tinged with pain and suffering. So I picked these sutras out because just like any other book, some sutras are more important than others. I think in the second pot of these are four of the most important sutras because it covers how everything in the universe is changing and how if you don't change with that, it causes, issues, it causes pain, it causes suffering.
So I want to actually go a little deeper on that because I truly believe that when we do create our own pain and suffering, and when we no longer can control our free will, because we have free will, we have the power to not react to a lot of the things that are going on around us. But a lot of us have lost that and we're kind of stuck in our subconscious mind. So I'm going to ask you, what do you feel is the power to, or maybe a few tips that you can give to really help people with not reacting, the power of not reacting, because I feel that we do lose some of our good energy when we react to a lot of the things going on around us.
So one-pointed concentration is the sixth limb of yoga. So the reason why I'm sticking to the traditional way as it's taught is the eight limbs of yoga constitute liberation for all beings. It doesn't say for this being they need this, for this being they need that. And the eight limbs, when you start to transcend the physical realm, when your soul becomes aloof from it and you're no longer attingent upon earthly things for your happiness, you become less and less contingent upon these things for the happiness. The sixth limb is one-pointed mindfulness. So when you get an intellectual understanding of it, it's the one-pointed mindfulness and the one-pointed concentration that allow you to stay present in the moment. This way, you're not averse to anything and you're not seeking anything. And for that, in the first sutras, which is extremely important, is pleasure leads to addiction and emotional attachment. The next one is pain leads to anger and hatred. So these two sutras are extremely important because it gives you the beginning of duality and how your soul becomes entangled with your first like.
So when you're working with someone, right? And they come to you and they are so trapped within their body of pain, what are the first few things that you actually do work on with them, which I think would be in alignment with your book that covers that? What would you teach them? What would you, because again, it's about breaking the beliefs, breaking away from what they've been taught and conditioned to their whole life.
Well, when you're talking about pain, it's a very, very broad subject. In the book, it says pain is there for purification. So if you're experiencing pain, it's due to some kind of bad karma and you're supposed to let it pass. There's also simply just smiling and coming to a joyful state. One of the best ways that we can get out of pain is to be happy. And if we're happy, then our chemistry in our body changes.
Right. Agreed.
There's also things like pineapple is really good for pain. So there's also natural therapies that you can do as well for it.
Right. And going back into pineapples, they contain bromelain. Bromelain it basically lessens the inflammation in your body. So that's the magic tip with the pineapples. What made you, it's funny because when I was just watching your interview with your last interview, you had mentioned about being an empath. And what led you into this? And I know you had mentioned it was past experiences of being in an unhappy relationship kind of brought you into this, but did you experience some like a calling or your intuition that what pointed you in this direction? A lot of people don't really go towards spirituality, which I would pray that this year a lot of people have more of an open perspective towards it, because what I'm teaching them about how to eat, what to eat, diet, stress, breath work, reducing your stress. It really does encompass energy healing. Energy healing is a big part of it as well. So what
Mm.
made you transition into this? What were you doing before this?
Geez, I mean, I did just about everything. I was a mortgage broker at 18. I was, I was, geez, also everything and anything. I did chimneys, I did carpentry. So I did door to door selling things for multiple sclerosis.
Right.
I was born Catholic, so I had the privilege to be born Catholic and go to Catholic school when I was younger. So
Mhm.
naturally, it was bred. Spirituality was bred because I'm lucky enough to have been introduced to the teachings of Christ.
Mhm.
And I went through extreme suffering, emotional and mental suffering, when I couldn't see my son for some time because his mother had taken him, and then we had to wait to go to court and da 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 da. And then at the same time, my father had died.
I'm
So
sorry.
yeah, so the emotional suffering that I went through right there was a big wake up for me, and
Mhm.
that's what got me into it. When I got into it, I mean, we've all seen Mr. Miyagi in Karate Kid when
Karate
he was,
Kid.
and then there's some kung fu flicks that I used to watch where some of the Buddhist masters would be able to touch people with their hands and heal them, and I was like, wow, that's really cool. And up until then, the only thing I had ever heard about healing was how Christ used to heal people. So
Right.
what you're hearing it how Christ used to heal people, it's like almost like a fairy tale. You're like, wow. But then when you get into the world of energy healing and you've done healings, you see, oh, this actually works.
Right.
And as far as the Yoga Sutras would say, they would say that the energy healing goes in the spiritual gifts aspect. So they say what it says is that these energetic healing properties or any spiritual gifts are good for worldly things, but they can be a hindrance if you get attached to them when it comes to the ultimate goal.
Right.
So that's why being able to go into and out of your meditation, uh, you get better and better, because if you can go into and out of the samadhi states, uh, then there's less hindrances.
So when it comes to meditating and when you're teaching someone and you're working with someone, you teach them the first of 8, right?
The people should
It's
always start
working up
with
to.
with asana. Asana is where people should always start. So the first two limbs are the moral and ethical codes, and then the third limb is asana. And American people, most people, when they hear of asana, when they hear of yoga, they think of all the fancy poses. And yes, yoga is fancy poses, but asana simply constitutes keeping your body steady, comfortable, and aware. So it always starts there. And then from there, you go up into the higher limbs of consciousness. The fourth limb is focusing inwards towards self-realization instead of outwards towards the earthly things. The fifth limb, or pardon me, that's the fifth limb. Then the sixth limb is one-pointed concentration, and then the seventh limb is where you start to calm your mind and calm your soul.
And how can Yoga Sutras end world suffering?
Mm. Well, if you want to know if you want to know what suffering is, if you want to stop suffering, you have to stop the cause.
Right.
And that's what this book is telling you. This is the cause of all the suffering. Now, if everybody practices this book or reads this book, not just this book, the Buddhist sutras, things like this, but this is in constituent with Buddhism. This covers Buddhism. It's not all of Buddhism, but this is all the fundamentals you need to know. And if everybody reads, practices, and studies, there'll be less greed, there'll be less attachment, and there'll be less and less suffering. There is no other way to solve it on a long-term goal. Education is the only way.
Right.
Education and lifestyle changes.
Right. Right. I agree. Absolutely. Um, and why is yoga so effective to help people break the chains that bind them, which is what I call them?
Mm. So whether it's yoga or Buddhism, when Buddha gives the Four Noble Truths, he's giving you a summary of the Yoga Sutras in a way that teaches you to alleviate suffering. But the Buddha taught the Eightfold Path But in yoga, we have the 8 limbs of yoga, which, although there are minor differences and both can be superior in certain ways, the Yoga Sutras, the Eightfold Path and the 8 limbs lead to the same destination. And after the Buddha says, in life, there's suffering, there's a cause to suffering, there's a way that you can stop suffering, and then this is how you stop suffering. The Buddha gives the Eightfold Path. They're doing the same thing in yoga. They're just not saying we're doing it to end suffering. They're just saying that you liberate yourself from the wheel of suffering.
Right.
And it gives the eightfold or the 8 limbs of yoga.
So like for me, I know that getting onto this path of healing my spirit and my soul, it started like 7 years ago. I was going through one bad relationship after the other. And now knowing as an empath, we do attract people that are more narcissistic than others. So we really have to
giving me huge warnings about this. So
yes, absolutely. So we have to really keep ourselves strong and have major boundaries with people, because if we do not keep our energy strong and our minds clear, I really do feel that it's funny because the universe kind of sends you little tests and they kind of test you. Are you going to allow the same things as you are trying to move past? So for me, in really encompassing this journey, it did start with bad relationships that in effect made me very physically sick. So it took my health to really, that was my wake up call for me, was that, you know, in having these toxic people in my life. So in learning more about Reiki and yoga and meditation, which I actually more got into last year, it's made me so much stronger, mind, body, and soul. And I feel like I would love for other people to really understand that it's a mixture of everything that encompasses you bringing yourself and up leveling to the next level. So what inspired you to write this book? What made you want to really teach people about this and share it with the world?
Well, nowadays we have access to so many different texts, and the major religions are Buddhism, Christianity, yoga, and Muslim. And no offense if I forgot anybody, but that's how it is, and Taoism. So after many years of studying these texts, and I read the Yoga Sutras for the first time probably 14 years ago, number one, I was questioning the validity of these texts. And I was also looking for something to cross-reference the Gospels and the Bible with as well. And after studying them, they each gave insight into each other. But I finally came to a point of clarity where I was like, okay, the Yoga Sutras were probably studied by Jesus and Buddha. So if you come down to that understanding, then it's like, well, where do we start? Well, why don't we start with the core fundamental text and then go from there? So that's one of the main reasons why I chose this as my first text.
Mm-hmm. So what do you, okay. And I've actually, it's funny because in one of my Reiki sessions, Buddha came through, which my Reiki master said she has never, I mean, she's probably very, very, she can probably count on one hand how many times that's happened, which is a big deal. And at that point, when she had said it, I didn't understand how powerful that was. So what's the difference between Buddhism and Christianity? What would you say? Or, you know, being Catholic and being a Buddha, what's the difference there? Because obviously for me, I believed in Jesus Christ and God. And so what's the difference there? Because I feel like you do bring it up, Jesus and Buddha. And so what would you say is the difference so people can understand?
Jesus was a higher manifestation of God.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Right.
If you study the teachings of Christ, his one sentence covered so much that if you study the teachings of Buddha and the Yoga Sutras, it'll bring you a lot of clarity on what Jesus was teaching. Plus, Jesus was on the run. They moved him out of Tibet. They moved him out of Pakistan. Anywhere he went, anybody who was in that area got jealous of him and tried to kick him out and ruin him. So that's why he ended up where he was doing what he was doing. And in that short time, when they record the Gospels, what he covers is basically everything ever written up until that time.
Right.
But it doesn't, I'm sure, when Jesus meditated in the desert for 30 days, there's not a lot of focus in the Christian faith on doing meditation.
Right.
And the fact that he did that shows that, number one, Jesus was probably a breatharian. Number two, he was definitely educated in the pranic arts to do something like that.
Correct. Right.
So that's just about says it right there.
Right. Right. And prana is healing. Prana is energy healing, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Prana, all things are prana.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. So how do you share the word? How do you share what you're trying to do in this world? How do you spread the word? Do you use social media? How do you do this?
So I've taken the bodhisattva vow. So my purpose is no less than to stop and end all suffering. That is my purpose. What was the second question that you asked?
How do you spread the word? How do you help people learn about this? And
as a practicing Taoist, you're looking to use any means that you can to achieve your goals, as long as it doesn't harm anything.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Do you have a specific story of either a transformation within yourself that you'd like to share, or maybe even someone else that you saw that were in working with you really transformed their life?
I think every morning we're reborn,
Mm-hmm.
and we're constantly in a state of that transformation. The Yoga Sutra says that God is projecting the reality in through your eyes into your soul, and if there's anything that doesn't belong there in the soul, that God is removing the obstacles to your spiritual growth, like a farmer would remove dirt from an irrigation field.
Mm-hmm. Really? That's, you know what? I actually heard you say that in your last interview. And what would you say to someone if they were really in a bad place and if they felt like they were so stuck that there is a way out? There's, nobody has to be stuck in that rabbit hole. There's always a way out. It's just one small step at a time. So what advice would you give to someone that is in a bad place right now? Because I know with everything going on with COVID and everything going on with a lot of changes in this world, and especially with, I think taking religion out of schools and which is very, I don't know, I just feel like we need more of it versus taking away from it. So what would you say to someone that feels very stuck in their life?
Well, first off, Emanuela, let me say that I think each person should be dealt with on a one-on-one basis,
Right.
because you can't clump together everybody into just this. One person might be overeating sugar and have depression issues.
Absolutely.
One have scars from being a kid that aren't healed. One
Yes.
person would have bad influence role models in their life. One
Right.
person's environment might not be a pleasant environment to be in. Maybe they're in a really bad neighborhood, suffering in the city. So really you have to take on each person for what it is.
Yes.
But what I can say is that if you look throughout the day, there's really usually is only maybe 1 to 5 negative things per day. If you choose to fill your mind with negative things on top of that, then that's on you. But those 1 to 5 negative things that happen to you on a daily basis, you have no control over that. But if you allow that to dictate your entire day, that just means that you have a negative attitude.
Yes.
So trying to keep an equanimous mind and build a positive attitude are important. And that's very hard to do if you're going through intense emotional suffering, intense physical suffering.
Yes.
If you allow it to make you mentally stronger, then you're headed in the right way. If you allow it to break you, then that's not good. But if you don't have a meditation practice, then how are you supposed to grow from these things? See, the sutra says backsliding is a big hindrance to spirituality. So you go through a suffering in life, and when you come out of that, you're supposed to come out of it wiser, stronger. When you meditate, you anchor that into your soul, and then you're not going to make that same mistake again. If you're not practicing meditation, not anchoring this into your soul, then you're doomed to repeat the same mistakes over and over and over again, reality after reality after reality.
Mm-hmm.
Then the next question is, what about people who are good people who are suffering? There's two things. The first is that it could be your past life karma, and it could be your karma from this life. So you might be settling up your karma from your past lives. The other thing is that we're suffering due to everybody else's suffering. So because we're all connected in this world, if Johnny, Joe, Betty A are doing something to harm people on a mass level, and we're in that mass level, we're going to get harmed by that. So we're getting affected by other people's actions. And that's why the only way to really solve it is to nip it in the bud, and to lessen the cravings and lessen the desire and build the charity and build the virtue and build the inner growth on that level. And then also now we have such technology available to us. We've never had this technology available before. The stuff that you can access on your cell phone, we would have had to travel to different countries and visit different libraries. So we have all of this knowledge, which is absolutely amazing. We have this technology to have everything green. So it really, if we marry the advantage with the outer technology in with the soul evolvement, we could have a perfect earth. I mean, this is never, it had to happen now like this. But if the technology goes the other way, if it goes all to monetization, they start to take off the text and all the free knowledge off the internet and charge you for everything through the search engines. The technology is only available to the very rich. The
Right.
oil companies, they don't want to switch over to get to renewable energy because they can't control the power of the resources. So if it goes that way, then we're going to see much more suffering. But if we can get out there the core reasons of why all this stuff is happening and tell people, drop good or bad, let's just make it as results, actions, results, suffering and not suffering. And this is what we have to do, but you have to do your own part. You mentioned that we all have our free will.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't shove this down somebody's throat. I can't go to somebody, you have to meditate. Like, it's your choice whether you want to meditate or not.
Yes, correct.
But
Right.
if you meditate, you can reach nirvana.
Yes. And I do teach, I don't teach, I just teach just mindfulness and just being within themselves and just being present for themselves. And I do work on teaching them little breath exercises that they can start working on. And even just the breathing, the breath work alone with the just clearing their mind, focusing on their third eye, they, if I have them do that, which, you know what, they wind up falling in love with it. They wind up once and I just really ask if they can commit to even once a week, because I do feel that if they are looking to me to really give them guidance and tools on how to restore themselves and how to get there, because they're lost and they just don't know how, working on these small steps that are manageable for them, like breath work and working with someone like you with yoga that's going to teach them the principles, that to me is really powerful, because I can incorporate teaching them how to restore their health naturally, what foods to eat to do that, what supplements that are plant-based that they do that.
Let me say one thing, and then I have some questions I want to ask you.
Perfect.
Okay, so let me just say one more thing. See, what I don't understand is why none of the other teachers are telling you what nirvana is and why you want to reach nirvana. Nirvana means a state of mental and emotional purity in which you're existing in more spiritual bliss. Now, the more that you want, the less happy that you become. So spiritual bliss is when your happiness comes more from within instead of outside. And that's what nirvana is. And in the Yoga Sutras, the ultimate state is called Dharma Mega Samadhi, which is the ultimate state of nirvana. But what I'm telling you guys is nirvana is real. If you want to reach it, you have to practice and you have to study. And the Yoga Sutras are a great way for you to, a great text for you to start with in your studies. I've read it at least 11 times. I've written my own copy now, and I still study it on a daily basis. And it is said it takes repeated study.
Absolutely. I agree 110% on that.
So, Emanuela, these are the questions I have ready for you. You ready?
I'm ready.
Here we go. Please help us out with some wisdom on how to heal your gastrointestinal tract.
Well, first off, your gut controls 80% of all the systems in your body. So, and also there's the gut brain axis, right? When your gut is not healthy, it basically manifests as other ailments in your body. It can kick off as digestive issues like colitis and IBS and Crohn's. It can kick off as anxiety or depression. It can kick off as an autoimmune condition. Your health starts with a healthy gut. So in keeping a healthy gut, I really would recommend, number one, it's a lifestyle change. Okay. So it does incorporate eating whole foods, clean, hopefully really going more towards a wild caught, plant-based type of diet, a lot of veggies. If you can't really eat cooked raw veggies, because I know a lot of people with digestive issues have a hard time with raw veggies, you can cook them or steam them. Also, probiotics are key. Now, probiotics that you do have to be careful with probiotics because probiotics are not regulated. So it's really important that you know where you're getting your supplements from. So your probiotics and the ones that I take and recommend to the people that I work with when we're working on restoring, let's just say, intestinal issues, is a probiotic that's micro blended with algae. Probiotics need a mineral in order for it to make it more powerful. So what the mineral does to the probiotics is it basically multiplies the good bacteria. So that would be tip number one, would be probiotics. Number two would be enzymes. Digestive enzymes are crucial because they help you break down your proteins, your carbs, and your healthy fats in your body. So it's also being mindful of how you're eating. So for example, a lot of people, and I was in the world of constantly working and eating on the run. And so eating more mindfully, because when you are eating and multitasking at the same time, you are basically, you're disrupting your entire digestive system. You are basically shutting down when you're multitasking and eating at the same time, you are eating while your digestion is closed because your brain and your energy is being reverted to whether it's your hands for typing, your eyes for looking, your ears for hearing. Your digestion is closed. Your digestion is now in a sympathetic state, even though you're not being chased by a lion or in fight or flight because you're moving too fast. Your body just thinks it's in a sympathetic state. So your digestion will be closed. So when you're eating, you're not digesting your foods properly. So really slowing down when you eat is key. Giving yourself, even if you could work up to 20 minutes of undivided attention in just enjoying your meal, using all your senses, your eyes to see your meal, what you're eating, being grateful and that you have that food in front of you, smelling your food, chewing it, tasting the flavors in your mouth, hearing it crunching in your mouth or looking at it and just being thankful for the abundance that you have. And also, I would say that with digestion issues, you need minerals as well. So for me, I do recommend a third supplement, which is really, it's all plant-based. It's microorganic algae. Microorganic algae basically covers all of the vitamins from A and all of your minerals to zinc. It also encompasses about 8 different amino acids that some of 6 that your body doesn't even make. And the only thing it doesn't have is vitamin D. So when I'm working with someone to heal their digestive tract or their gastrointestinal problems, I'm working on building that foundation in their gut first. And again, it comes with foods, how you're eating, probiotics, digestive enzymes are really important as well, and having the mineral component.
And does that coincide with enzyme therapy?
Yes, correct. Enzyme therapy. Okay, so for me, when I was healing my thyroid, and that's really what kicked off my book and really made me become a health coach and a life coach, and now I'm studying to become a functional nutritionist. Proteolytic enzyme therapy was, because there's different types of enzymes, right? There's digestive enzymes, then there's proteolytic enzymes. Proteolytic enzymes it was like a precursor to digestive enzymes. So I take probiotics every day. I take enzymes, digestive enzymes, with any cooked meals that I eat. Then, because I was shrinking a mass and nodules that I had developed on my thyroid, and my thyroid was malfunctioning at that point, I was really scared. But I gave myself 3 months. I said, okay, I know I'm being mentored by probably one of the most intelligent women that I know, that has restored her health as well as helped a lot of other people restore their health. So proteolytic enzymes was a component that I used, and I still take every day, to decrease the inflammation in my body and to help me shrink the massive nodules that were on my thyroid. And I gave myself 3 months. I started in August. A month later, the lumps that I felt in my throat I didn't feel them anymore. And then when I went back to the doctors for a recheck on my 4th month, he confirmed through a sonogram and blood work that my thyroid was back to normal. And that the mass and nodules that I had originally had, that were really big at that point, were shrunk by more than half their size in 4 months. And I lost 24 pounds.
That's great.
Yeah, thank you.
How do we shrink the nodules?
So it starts again with your gut first. And it's funny because in my functional nutrition course that I'm taking,
Right. In Ayurveda, they say 65 to 80% of all disease starts in the gut.
absolutely, absolutely. It all starts with your gut. So with any chronic ailment, right, you're starting with your gut first. So when I work with someone, I'm working on getting their gut healthy. Then there's going to be, for example, precursors that are going to come in later on. And again, it does have to do with diet change. I may put that person on an anti-inflammatory diet, which means removing dairy, white flour-based foods, red meats, why do I feel like that 4th component? Yeah, so it's dairy. And then sometimes there could be like, for example, could be grains that we remove. But I'm removing anti-inflammatory. I'm putting them on an anti-inflammatory diet for 2 weeks. And that is where they're just eating vegetables and broths and fruits and really cleaning out their system, ramping up their gut with probiotics. And I work on a ramp up process for about 3 weeks. So they're on a certain amount. So I do it slowly. So we're incorporating each supplement slowly, not all at once, because I don't want to overwhelm them. And again, it's digestive enzymes. The algae comes in week 3 or 4, depending. Then I will bring in antioxidants to work on the free radicals. So I'm working on an alkaline, right? Acid alkaline balance in their body. So it's about 70% of an alkaline versus 30% acidity. So you do need some acidity in your body, but we want it to be more alkaline.
What effects can happen if the body becomes too alkaline? Is that possible?
Well, you know what? That's a good question because I don't really see an issue with a person being too alkaline. But as far as your digestive system goes, you
Mm.
need acid in your stomach. Acid helps you break your foods down. So the body does need to be, and again, it should be a ratio of about 70% alkaline
Gotcha.
and about
Gotcha.
30% acidity. So you do want it to be more alkalines, but you do
Right.
need acid in your body. You do need
Right.
it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I noticed that because I switched to a really, really heavy alkaline diet because a couple of years back I got into a conversation with this nurse and she's like, well, don't drink alkaline water because your kidneys are at 7.3%. And if you drink alkaline, your kidneys just excrete it. So I went without alkaline water for like 3 or 4 years after she said that. Sure enough, 3 or 4 years later, I drink the alkaline water. All my inflammation goes away. I'm like, why didn't I do more research into that? Um,
Now, so wait, so you're trying to say, wait, so you would drink, because I recommend for people not to drink the alkaline water because I feel like spring water is truly where you get more of the natural minerals from the water. And I
mm,
feel like when you're drinking an alkaline water, it's being manipulated by somebody putting in certain things to it. So tell me about that experience with the alkaline water.
well, they have the natural alkaline water, which is found in the deep wells and in the volcanic
Right,
wells. So you
right.
can get it naturally, and I try to drink that.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
I always
awesome.
keep it natural. Yeah, a couple things to say. So the my experience was when I did drink the alkaline water for 3 weeks and I didn't have enough acid, I definitely felt like there was something wrong. So I feel like it was really important that you went over that 70-30 alkaline,
Absolutely. Yeah.
70 alkaline, 30% acidic, because that's a
Yes.
big deal. That makes sense.
Yes.
Uh, I watched the thing. This guy's a water enthusiast. I'm also a water enthusiast. So when I was doing my meditations in the forest for 2 years, um, I actually would take a glass water jar and I would say to the water, love, 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 happiness, 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 happiness. Then the next day when I would drink it, it would taste sweet. And if you were,
Really?
yeah, yeah, if you were in like a bad mood and the water was around you, the next day you drink the water and it would taste stale. So it's always
Wow.
that your
You know
ability.
what? It's funny because one of the prayers that I say over my water is Ramadasa. Ramadasa sa so some hung. So it's more of a I don't know if you ever heard of Dr. Jeffrey Levery.
I might have heard from the first time yesterday.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So I am studying his Nam Yoga and the energy healing that he actually wrote 3 books. And I read 2 of them so far, but I didn't read the third one yet, Divine Doctor. So he teaches about how to incorporate meditation and breath work and how to bless your water is one of his teachings. He teaches you how to bless your water and it will charge your water so it'll have healing powers in it.
Mm.
So I do that.
In one of my up and coming books, because I have a lot of books on the way. I have 3 or 4 books that are already in process of being made. It talks about blessing magic and healing magic. So
Really?
how
That's so interesting.
actually, I'm pretty sure they have qualities with this with Reiki too. When you become a high level Reiki practitioner, you can do like Reiki blessings or Reiki empowerments. So it's kind of the same methodology where you can do things like that. But blessing the water has a huge to do. And I've done experiments where I walked into the supermarket and went down the water aisle, and I charged the water with positive love and emotions. And then when I went back into the aisle, there were all beings in the aisle having a good time.
Really?
Yeah. So
That's
that
so,
yeah, yeah.
oh my God, we have to just spread this out because it is so powerful. It really is, and it truly is your mindset. You have control over your thoughts. Your thoughts are involuntary, So
Also experimentation too. I mean,
yes.
if you want to get better at something, you experiment. If people think you're weird because you hold up your hand to an animal and try to speak to it telekinesis wise, if they think that's weird, then they're not going to get better. If you start holding up your hand and speaking to an animal and trying to bless water for 10 years, you see the results of that, you get better at it. So it's really just having an open mind.
Right.
It's as long as it's done for the greater good, then I really don't see an issue with it.
Absolutely. And the way that actually I started with this whole journey with healing, I was a recruiter in the finance industry for over 20 years. So for me, this whole thing started with when I reversed my dog's irritable bowel syndrome 7 years ago. And when I reversed it naturally and he was healed, that's what started me with working with pet owners. So for me, working with people now is just an added bonus in my life, but it started with me healing my dog. And it's funny because he was having a lot of digestive issues, and I actually was studying, did you ever hear of Linda Tellington? She's got the Tellington method, where specific ways that you can massage, like depending on you can massage certain areas in a dog's body, and it will have a direct effect on organs and their joints and things like that. So
I do self-massage. I do self-massage, and I'm a high level qigong practitioner where I can move qi through the organs and regulate the organs and restill the organs. I'm also a very high level cellular kinesis practitioner as well, which I go over in my next book, which is going to be coming out, The Immortal Practices. I go over in great detail because my processes of cellular kinesis are new.
So what is cellular kinesis? I have never heard of it before.
Cellular kinesis is the ability to affect the cells within your body using the power of your mind.
So interesting. I love it. I love it. So how is this transformed? How is this whole journey? Because now you've been doing it for 16 years. How has this transformed your life?
Well, I'd say that my life is currently transforming.
Yes, so, always, every day, we're letting go and transforming.
What I've been going through, I was in a cabin in the North Side forest for about, I want to say 20 months. It was the best 2 years of my life. I had to choose. I was making just enough money to pay the bills. And I had to choose to keep on going, working so many yoga classes a week, taking on personal clients, and I was barely making the bills, if that. And then that's when I decided I wanted to write. And when I decided I wanted to write, all of a sudden I didn't have enough time to take these extra classes and to do these extra things. I just didn't have enough time. 80 hours a week it's just not healthy for you.
Mm-hmm.
So for that reason, I downsized into my van that I'm in right now, because I knew I was going to need at least 24 to 48 months to finish my writings.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I'm in the van right now. So now the overhead isn't as much. So there's not as much stress.
Right.
You're trying to write 3 books and you have $5,000 in bills coming every month, and you can't sleep at night because you don't know how you're going to make your payments. It's hard to write.
Absolutely.
So now I switched it around. I'm in the van, and now I'm working towards, reestablishing myself like that. But now I know where my values are at. When you're young, you want a nice car. You want to go out and get this $70,000 Mercedes or Tesla or whatever. And I am pro Tesla, by the way. But when you get older, you're like, wow, what's really important is a steady roof over my head with no bills.
Right. Agreed. Yeah.
That's where I'm going with that. And then as far as teaching goes, when you start teaching, you're nervous to be in front of people. After teaching for about 14 years, you become really seasoned with it. And then you see what happens to the students over the years. And you're like, well, how can I really benefit my students in the class? So blossomed as a teacher, I definitely have. The spiritual wisdom that I've gained from the learning lessons in my life are definitely irreplaceable. I've learned what are my values, what to hold as definitely right and wrong, what not to do, how not to overindulge, and how I learned that getting what you want doesn't always mean happiness. So
right, exactly, because a lot of people Even when they get what they want, they're not happy. Right.
Mhm.
So how can somebody, if somebody wanted to work with you, where are they going to find you? And how are they going to get your book?
My home gym is LA Fitness, Lake Grove. You
Mhm.
can find my YouTube. Please subscribe. It's Master Vincent Ferrer, Ferrer. I'll put a link below.
Yes, please.
And my book is Yoga Sutras. You can find it on Amazon. Let me see if you can get a good look at that.
Yes.
Mhm. And let me ask you one more question, then I want to ask you about your book and where they can get that as well. The one
Absolutely.
I wanted to ask you is uh, how often should we take the probiotics? Because
Every
I
day.
every day. Okay, so
Absolutely.
mm,
It's if your immunity, and I'm sorry for cutting you off because I know you weren't finished. Um, if your immunity is basically in your gut, that's the majority of where your immunity is, right? We want to keep, there's always going to be good and bad bacteria. We need to have more good bacteria than bad. The more probiotics somebody takes, number one, the stronger your immunity is going to become. So probiotics should be taken every day, preferably in the morning on an empty stomach.
just once a day then.
Yeah, once a day. I take it every morning.
So it is one bottle of kombucha too much, or is that the proper amount of
I,
probiotics?
you know what? I don't know what the strain is in the kombucha. I take 8 probiotics a day. So I take Acidophilus bifidus and a multi-strain that are microblended with algae. Then I take another probiotic that is especially formulated to reduce about 74% of the glyphosate out of your body. So it basically takes out that pesticide glyphosate out of your body. So I take 8 a day. And that also is because of COVID. I wanted to keep my immunity system strong. I also take a mushroom blend of supplements that,
Oh, I have a mushroom blend.
without a doubt, it's an antiviral, a natural antiviral, and it also gives you vitamin D. So that is also another component, but I take a few different things, and that's all to keep my immunity strong.
That's great.
Yeah.
And you're recommending that we take the algae with the probiotic?
The algae, the probiotic that I take is microblended with the algae in it. I do take microalgae on its own as well, because it basically, what the microalgae, it is so powerful. It's number one, it is the oldest life source on planet Earth. It actually gives you 2 times the protein of beef. It gives you 22 times the iron, more than spinach, 9 times more beta carotene than carrots. It's got so many benefits in it, really crucial benefits. It's got, I think it's like 20 times more antioxidants than blueberries. So it's very, very a rich, nutrient dense food that I basically take in a capsule formula, or you can get it in a powder formula and just put it in water and drink it that way. But I do take the microorganic algae component as well, because that's my multivitamin. So when people ask me, what's your multivitamin? Microorganic algae. And that I get from my
Make
company.
sure, I'm going to make sure that we put a link to the algae in the
Yes,
description below.
I will.
People watching want to get some of this algae that they can.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I will give them the link to my website and they can try it. And I'm telling you, first, I would recommend to anyone, if you are not taking the probiotics and the enzymes, I would recommend to anyone start with the probiotics and enzymes first. If you are taking probiotics and enzymes, then you can add in the microorganic algae, because the organic algae is also going to kick your healing up another level. It basically also restores the malfunction between your gut and your brain. It really restores your neurotransmitters. It actually also clears out any plaque that you have in your arteries. It's very powerful. It heightens your cognitive ability. It will also because again, it works with also the serotonin in your body. So it restores your nervous system. And when I tell you that when I started my healing journey, I had adrenal fatigue. I was going through menopause. I had every symptom under the sun. I was very unhappy within myself. I had developed a thyroid issue, massive nodules. And from there, and where I am in my life now, it all stemmed with that. It was a lifestyle change. I had to rid myself of toxic people in my life. And I still go through that now, because you do encounter people that you're going to hope and pray that they're coming in your life for the right reasons, but sometimes it doesn't always happen that way. And you have to be keen enough to remove that quickly. So, but also it's the probiotics, it's the enzymes, it's the eating a good whole food diet. Sleep is very important. Your water intake, exercise and movement, breath work and meditation. It's all encompassed in that. It's just like a vibe.
Oh, definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
For me, it's almost strange that we even have to still say that message. It's like, didn't you guys get the message 10 years ago? What happened with that? But people still, they still haven't gotten that message. I saw something on my Instagram today. It said the CDC is now saying that exercise, diet, and fresh air are important. And then it says, no, they're not.
It is so crucial. And exactly in that fresh air and being out in nature and daylight, sunlight, you need that. You need that. And even if it's just 20 minutes a day, you need that. That's crucial as well. So it's all a part of a pie. And it's really, that I think is the most frustrating thing for me, is that you see so much on the news about, and again, someone can do whatever they want with their body. It is their choice, okay? Whether they want to get the vaccine or not. But I will say that you never hear anything about working on your lifestyle, a healthy lifestyle. I never see that being promoted anywhere. And it makes me very sad because, these vaccines are putting more toxins and chemicals in our body that we don't need, and that our liver and kidneys have to work through.
I say, no matter how you look at it, it's a Band-Aid on a bullet hole.
That's
no matter
right.
how you look at it, even if it does mask the problem a little bit, because I'm not going to try to discredit the value of vaccines, because if done properly,
Right.
it's into the root of the problem. Is it solved? And it's not. It's not solved.
No, it's not.
It takes effort. It's painful to go to the gym. It's
absolutely
painful. It's easy to drop on the couch and not do anything.
That's right.
So you have to put in that work for your body, and you have to work for your health. If you don't work for it, you're not going to get it. And after you get past a certain age, when you're in your teens and your 20s, you might be able to get away with a little bit more. But as you get into 30s, 40s, 50s, if you don't have a firm exercise habit built, your health is going to drop real rapidly.
Agreed. High five.
I wanted to ask too, what's the name of your book? And can you please show us your book?
Oh, sure. It is Healing Through Nature's Medicine, A Story of Hope. And it's on Amazon and also my website, embodyvitality.net.
I love it. And I love the cover of it.
Thank you so much.
One more thing. Could you leave us with one life lesson from your book?
There's so many nuggets. I have to say that perseverance, and really don't ever stop looking for the solution, especially when it comes to your health. You can restore your health naturally. You just have to give your body the right environment. Your body is a temple. It's a machine, a beautiful machine. And if you give it the right environment, you will see miracles in your life. One of the things that I say is what you eat today is who you become tomorrow. And that is absolutely true. And to hit what you had just said upon, I'm talking about in my book, how do we become diseased in the first place? You know, what is a nutritional strategy that you can really start living by every day? And I go through that. I'm teaching people what I basically did to heal and restore myself and restore my thyroid. When I was done, well, not done, because I'm always working on up leveling myself, but when I healed the everything that was going on in my body, I had so much energy and clarity in my head where I had none of that years before that, because I was really in a deep, I would say I was just not in the right state of mind. I was like I had said before, in a lot of toxic relationships. I was in a very high demand job, and I, you know, was not happy within myself. I wasn't happy. But I learned how to love myself, and I learned how to love all my flaws, because they make me the woman, the strong woman that I am today. But going back into that, I'm teaching people on, like, if I was to just pick out, I'm also going over like what nourishing your body with the best quality foods, going over what do quality foods look like, how to meal prep. You know, there are a lot of things that someone, I have a lot of people that come to me and they're like, what do I eat? I have no idea what to eat. Like what's balanced, what's not. I am not a calorie counter, never was. I don't teach people how to calorie count because I don't feel like that's the right way. I just feel like really having a balanced meal, really incorporating healthy sources of lean protein, and having half of your plate be veggies. Half of your plate should be veggies. Colors of the rainbow. Think of the colors of the rainbow. Incorporating that in at least 9 servings of veggies a day you should have. And that should be encompassed in your breakfast. What?
I love the colors of the rainbow.
Right, exactly. And each food encompasses different nutrients that you get from it. So for me, I am all about food is medicine. So you can, and that's, you know, that's really what I am trying to share with people in my book.
Let thy food be thy medicine.
Absolutely. It's about having, you know, lean proteins, and about having enough sources of veggies, and, you know, having, you know, a certain amount of grains, having healthy fats, having water. Water is very important. Some people go through their day and don't even drink a lick of water. Not good.
No. Water
No.
is the main lubricant in the body.
Absolutely.
It's what transmutes everything through all the cells. It's what allows the oxygen to go through.
That's
You know,
right.
water is extremely important. I believe that, I'm not sure, but I think they know the exact amount of liters you're supposed to drink daily.
It's actually whatever your weight is, you drink half your body weight in ounces. So if somebody weighs 200 pounds, they should drink about 100 ounces of water a day. And please, not tap water. Please, for God's sake, not tap water. Not tap. Either filtered or, you know, high quality water.
Okay, so Emanuela, thank you so much. My YouTube channel is Wisdom Master Vincent Ferrer, and you've definitely dropped some really good wisdom here. We can always learn something from one another. So as soon as you stop learning, you start dying. That's one of my mottos.
That's right. You are
And
right.
I'm gonna put all the links in the description below.
Excellent.
Thank you so much, Emanuela.
And I'm going to do the same. And I really want to thank you so much for having me. It was a great time. I hope we can do it again and really talk about other things, maybe your next book, because I'll be working on my second book, which is how I healed my dog. So again, I'm going to have all the links as well. I have my website, embodyvitality.net. I'm on social media. I have my YouTube channel. But again, if somebody is looking to truly stop their suffering and start to really work on healing themselves naturally, and they feel like they're stuck, there is always a solution, and I promise you that. So you want to close out with a little reading from your book?
I want to close out with Master Vincent's blessing.
Excellent. Bless me.
May you hear your heart clearly and choose your actions wisely. May God and all the angels in heaven protect and guide you always.
So above, so below, so be it. Namaste. God bless.
Namaste.